It's piggyback to
What's
play
that?
the fight?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised at that. Nobes mentioned that they were looking at a tackle, and I never thought I'd get fined for a tackle, especially when the bloke got up, kept playing. I think that's a frustrating thing that players, week to week, it's the classification that gets judged. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes I look at medical reports, sometimes I look at the action. I did exactly the same tackle 4 minutes earlier, and I think they said it was because of the force. When you're 3 minutes to go and you're up by 7 points, you've got to take them to ground. It's confusing and frustrating sometimes, but that's the AFL. They'll do what they want, and we'll have to move on.
Will you fight it?
Oh, what's the point? When they put into what was the judge? What was it classified as? Misconduct. Misconduct. When they can't judge something, they normally throw it at misconduct, and you can't really get out of it. So I said they pick and choose what they want to classify it, and then you can't really argue against them. So we can moan as much as we want, but we just have to move on, and hopefully they fix that, because a lot of people get very frustrated. You tackle someone and you cop a $2 or $3 grand fine, which is a part of football, which wasn't.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
The MRO is supposed to bring more consistency. Would you say that one person making decisions has led to less consistency?
I'd just say I understand it's a tough job, but it seems like they go out there trying to look for ways to find people, rather than they brought it in to stop blokes from doing dirty things without missing a week. And I think a tackle here and there and some other stuff that they're looking at finding, it's almost like we're going through who can we get, how much can we fine them. I think they made $26,000 this week. Let's hope that goes to charity, not back to the AFL.
Is it a lot of talk around rules of the game and the look of the game, and are we going to zone here and set up there? As players, would you guys much prefer them actually have a look at these issues, because that's the more confusing thing to you guys, and that's more important to address than where are we setting up before the bounce?
Look, as I said, we're going to moan about it as much as we can, but we'll have to wait. Hopefully they can take a mature decision and judge them more consistently next year moving forward.
That aside, I mean, there seem to be...
We'll get to the footy, good.
We're back there last week. I mean, there seemed to be genuine venom in that game.
I think if you look at all the rivalries around, you look at the Perth, look at Adelaide, living in Melbourne, I didn't think there was much of a rivalry between Brisbane and Gold Coast. I can tell you there is, and especially being out there on the weekend. There was a lot said out there was some physical acts, but it was a good, hard game of football. And I think for football to grow in Queensland, there's got to be more games like that, as you see in the fierce ones in Perth and in Adelaide and Sydney now.
The Miller-Zorko battle obviously has a bit of spice. How do you see that?
From where I was, it looked like two hard blokes having a red-hot crack against one another. Obviously, they've both got a bit of history, but they were two blokes that won't take a backward step and will do anything they can to hopefully get their team to win.
Did a chat about Zork's reaction post-match. What did you think from a teammate's perspective?
Obviously, you've seen the papers that a few people have had a bit of a crack at Zork's. I think Zork's has said that the emotions got the better of him at the time, but what I've seen of Zorko since he's taken over captaincy well outweighs the 2-second action after a game. What he's been able to do for our football club this year as captain stepping in has been an amazing effort, and I think more of the bloke that I've seen here do all that rather than a 2-second emotional reaction after the grand final, which he said he probably went a little bit too far.
Are you surprised that ex-players are some of the ones criticising, and Chris Scott brought up last night that the ability to switch off when you've been combatants for 4 quarters of footy, they went at each other, 200 metres off the ball, they were going at each other. As soon as that siren goes, to be able to shut that down and go, oh, well done, mate, and give it, are we too quick to jump on that and too quick to condemn that?
I think what we were talking about before about the look of the game, people sort of look at that and say it's not a great look, but as Chris Scott said, he goes, they battle hard. Both those blokes went hard at each other for the whole game, and to switch it off then and there. I think it's big as Zorks to sort of say the emotions did get the better of him. I'm tipping next time will be game over and move on, but it is very hard when it's a physical game and you're in each other's face for the whole game just to go, hey, how are you, mate? Well done, move on. So, but yeah, we'll move on from it.
Your first year, how have you liked it?
I've loved it up here. I guess when you get a chance to play with some good young footballers who just, as I said, I'm pretty old, so as I said, the bloke who you're talking to next is one who you love playing with, because their attitude's right, they listen, they do everything they possibly can to develop and get better themselves, but also help the football club. So I've been lucky enough that the body's been good enough to play most games, and I've really enjoyed it up here.
Will you play on?
Unless Nobes has going to tap me on the shoulder in a couple of weeks and say no. I think that's the plan at this stage. But when I spoke to Fags, it was always about whatever's best for footy club. If that was playing 2 years, then so be it. And a lot of it was how the body was going to hold up, and obviously the development of the list. So at this stage, we're looking at it at playing on. Yep.
Sometimes when you play a game that's as emotive as that, and everyone was clearly up for it, you come down the next week and you're a bit flat. Is there a real emphasis to try and keep that same approach and same physicality going into this game? Because West Coast have essentially called the Lions out already, said they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you.
Yeah, and I think that's where you need to develop to be a really good, consistent team. And I think throughout the year we've been able to back it up most weeks. We've had the odd fall away here and there, but I think as a team that are developing, you need to be ready to play every week. And this is we know what's coming at us. Adam Simpson, I spent a lot of time with him at Hawthorn and played a lot against him when he was at North. And if he says something like that, I know West Coast is going to come at it, and they would have been disappointed after their game. So we know they're coming over here, and what we've found this year is the Gabba is not an easy place to come and play football anymore. We've made it tough against teams to come here. It's not just an easy win. So we're going to have the same mindset as we had last weekend, and go out there and try and, I guess, affect their finals campaign.
Do you take that almost as a little bit of a sign of respect? It's something you've been trying to strive to earn this year, the fact that a finals-bound side is not going to come over here and take it as a sort of a practice week?
Yeah, like I said, that's a part of our development, is getting some respect back around the competition, and I think we've done that this year. I think the way we've been able to match up against a majority of the top 8 teams, beating Hawthorn twice, and this is another chance to try and beat a top 4 team who are a quality side. Yes, they're missing a few guys, but you can tell with their mindset that they're coming to play football and prepare for a final series.
That was the first time I think you guys in a long time have gone into the game as the hunted. And how do you feel that the guys are able to handle that? And do you prefer the shift back to the hunters? Or do you think that that's what West Coast have done in calling out, try to put you back in that mindset?
Our mindset's the same every week, and that's the thing. I reckon since we're the bye, I think we've won 6 or 7 first quarters since the bye. So it shows our mindset coming into games has been really good, and we've been able to pressure teams. Where early in the year we probably got off on the back foot because we were down at quarter time every week. So look, our mindset, whether we're favourites or not, is the fact we're going to get there and play a hard style of football.
What's improved since you've come to the club?
I've only been here for a year, but I definitely the development of the younger guys coming up. Just sit back watching them play, but also the mindset and the expectation. Speaking to a lot of supporters at the start of the year, when we were getting close in games, they'll rap with it that we're in games. If we lose a close game, we're all disappointed, and I think that's just the expectation of the group's getting better. The supporters' expectations are getting higher as well, and it's what we expect from one another these days. Pardon? Yeah, he's staying at my house tonight, so he's going to come for a look round tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hodge.